Thomas Bryant, there he goes.
Westbrook does a great job of one-handed, left-handed pass. Works on his side. He doesn't leave.
Jr. is checked in. Warriors stay with the same 5 starters. And Steph Curry hitting the wing jumper. Yes, dropping in that 3. Oh, Curry, little split. Steph through it. Steph with the layup. So Steph Curry, beautiful beginning. The turnover. Warriors down. Free throw with a 3-point play. Curry right down the lane. How about that?
What's up, everybody? Memorial Day weekend, and the weather absolutely sucks, right? Especially if you're on the East Coast. So nothing but rainy and cold. This is not May 29th weather. This is like November 29th weather. But hey, listen, it is what it is, right? So we're all coming out of this pandemic. Things are starting to open up. Hopefully everybody is remaining healthy, and we get rolling a little bit. We're getting full capacity in stadiums. We're getting bars opening up, sports arenas opening up. So a lot of cool things going on right now. So, as always, Fantasy Firebox, follow us at Win Daily Sports. I am your host, Tony Cutillo at Cutillo23. Easiest way to get at all of our content, as always, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube page. As simple as that. Get in our Discord chats, windailysports.com. You see all the avenues of potential. I call it potential because I'm telling you what. You talk about talent. There's a ton of talent here on his Win Daily Sports teams. Our leader, Mr. Jason, he's throwing out these tickets every single day. I'm just trying to be as good as my man Jason and my man Tulak, Brian Tulak. If you don't follow him, Picks and Pivots, Ace of Bases, you got to check it out. There's so many things for everybody here, but I'm going to do something a little different because full transparency, this has been a hell of a week for me personally. For everybody who has a family, has kids, things of that nature, things happen. So full transparency, my son's an athlete and broke his wrist on Sunday, and I've been running all week. We've had surgery, we have orthopedic appointments, and I'm coming in cold, y'all. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't put a single lineup in for the entire week. Last night was the first time I dove in to all the statistics. I literally watched not 1 minute of basketball for the first 2 days of the playoffs. So that's full transparency, but things happen. Life happens, and you got to pick back up and you got to get rolling. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about a little MLB, and there's a huge 10-game slate that starts at 2 o'clock. Okay, there's only a 5-game slate that I like to focus on the night games to give you guys opportunities. So we're going to focus on both of them, and we're going to stay away from all the rain. But I want to open up with one thing. I just want to ask everybody, what the hell is going on with society today? Because, we've had a multitude of instances within the NBA during the playoffs, and it's really saddened me. I have to mention it because, we have come out, hopefully, of this pandemic stronger as a society. And when I am consistently seeing things on social media, in the national headlines, whether it be racism, sexism, whatever the case may be, it's ludicrous to me. It really is. I honestly, I'm going to be full transparency. When I brought up my family, I didn't see gender, I didn't see race, I didn't see color, I didn't see any of that. And to see a kid who I'm a big fan of, a John Morant's family, be racially harassed in this, in the Utah stadium, it's horrific. I don't understand the logic of our society right now, man. I just don't. And we got to do better, people. We have to. We have to do better. We have to do better as as a human being. Treat everybody equally. Let's boost each other up. This is a great time to be a sports fan, in my opinion, because we have so many different avenues of production. And as a father of a 21-year-old female who loves sports, I love that females are getting the opportunity, because my daughter was huge into the sports arena, and not because she you hear she was a tomboy and this and that. No, man, she's really smart, and these people are really smart out there. You got to give them a chance, and I love every minute of it. I love it. I just think that with the spitting on Trae Young, with the racist remarks to John Morant, we have to get better. That's all I'm going to say. We have to get better. We have to move on, but we have to be better as a society. But let's dive into these games, and we'll dive first into the 2:00 games. And I'm going to tell you right now, I went completely away from any game that had just a smidgen of rain. Just a smidgen. That's it. I want nothing to do, because there's nothing worse. It's a Saturday, let's face it, and we all don't sit in front of our computers 10 for 10 hours a day. Maybe some of you do, and if you do, congratulations. I would love to know how you do it, but hey, man, to each their own. I don't. So I like to sit and I like to put my lineups in, and I don't have to worry. Now, obviously, we're going to check them, a half hour before first pitch, make sure our guys are playing, make sure, everything, all the impacts are basically leveled out. But at the end of the day, I want to set it, not necessarily forget it, but I want to set it and be comfortable just in case I get consumed in everyday life. So Adam checking in. What's up, Tony? What's up, Adam? As always, an avid follower. Adam is the man. Adam always checking in, whether it be the local scene or the national scene. And I absolutely love it. So let's share the screen real fast, and let's get into the first half of the games, which is going to be first is 2:00. It's the Washington game, but I'm not touching that game, like I said, because it's a 7-inning game. So let's see right now. Let's see. Here we go. So sharing the screen right here. We got the early screen, right? And again, this is my mess around account for all, for everybody asking and what are you doing and this and that. I just use this as basically, look, these are the guys I'm throwing in there so I don't forget who I really like. And there's a lot of stack potential in these early games. There really is. And it goes by, like we talk about each week, we talk about the pitching aspect, right? But, you have guys like John Lester, who we know can get rocked. J.A. Happ, whatever you want to call him. He's going to get rocked. The potential's there. Matt Harvey, the potential's there. But again, that White Sox-Baltimore game, first set of the games, a doubleheader, 7-inning game. It's so hard for me, to put lineups in based on that. Milwaukee, Washington, you see rain, right? Colorado, Pittsburgh, you see rain. So you'll see with the guys, most of the guys that I picked, okay, are staying far away from the rain games. Now, let's go right into the arms, because that's obviously one of the most important things that we like to talk about. Do we pay up for arms, or is there a potential for value based on, do we want to grab two guys that are their top money guys? Or is there a guy that maybe falls below 7,000 or 8,000 that we can really rely on? We had Brady Singer a couple weeks ago for 6,600. I mean, that's a tremendous value. They're the kind of guys that we like to try to look at and gravitate towards. So let's look at this right now and see where we're looking at. So Frankie Montez, again, Montez was one of my 2-star pitchers in the beginning of the week. Okay, and basically the reason why was the second half of his 2 starts, which was against the LA Angels, who have been really bad offensively lately because of injury, right? The injury bug has hit the LA Angels. They haven't been consistent with the bats, and Frankie Montes is a strikeout pitcher. So he was a guy who I said, you know what? He's a really good value. He's under $9,000. He's only $8,000, and he's going to get you strikeouts and innings as long as he's consistent with his command, right? So you look at his last game against Seattle. Frankie Montes, to me, was a money guy, right? Because he was facing 2 offensive teams that were really down are down low on the production level, right? So Seattle, I think as a team, they're batting 213. That's not very good, right? He throws 101 pitches, has 11 strikeouts. There's your lucky 13. You got the Jigsaw 13, 6 innings pitched, plus 11 strikeouts. You're at 17, drops you to 22. 22 points for 6,200. Great. Now, he did jump, right? $1,800, but again, going up the LA Angels, right? So I still think this is a good strikeout day for Frankie Montez. I do. And for 8,000, it's a good value. I mean, you look, he's giving you consistent point production, right? He's obviously giving you consistent point production. Now, you are paying up a little bit at 8,000. Frankie Montez was a guy people would feel more comfortable at 7,000, right? So it's that extra $1,000 bump, but I think there's a lot of value within your lineup and other stack potential that you can add in guys on under 3,000 for bats that kind of make up that 1,000. So I think Frankie Montez, for me, I'm starting off with him as one of my aces. I really like him. And, you know, we always talk two arms, we talk a core, and we talk value, right? That's what we do on the show. So Frankie Montez, right off the bat, to me, there's one of your arms. Now, when we also talk about, I talked about the rain, right? I know this was hard for me, okay, because I like Peralta a lot. I do. I like Peralta a lot. I know he's a top money guy, 10,100. But like I said, we always take that top guy for the most part and give you the value guy, right? So we're going to stick to under 20,000 for two arms. You got 10-1 and 8. That's only 18-1. Gives you an extra $1,900 to play with, right? Now, Freddie Peralta has just been a machine. Right, he is on ERA under 3, WHIP under 1. Which, if you get a WHIP under 1, it's at elite level, right? It's elite level, and you're going up against a Washington team who strikes out a lot, right? They strike out a lot, so I like the potential for Peralta today. Now, the only thing is, it's looking at the weather, right? So his last game against Cincinnati only went 4.2 innings, which isn't great, but he struck out 7, right? So this is what you have to look at. You got to stop worrying about, what these guys do if they lose, if there's a no decision. The biggest thing you need to look at is how many hits were allowed, how many pitches they pitched, and how many strikeouts they received, right? So you look at Peralta right off the bat, you're 7.888. I mean, there's your triple H, there's 24. That's right there's 31 strikeouts and 4 starts, right? So, I mean, that's averaging almost 8. So you figure if a guy's going to give you 5 to 6 innings, preferably 6, plus 7 average, there's that 13 number I talk about a lot. That 13 number, I call it, that is my formula. I always base my pitchers on that 13, on that lucky 13 number. So right there, you're going to get solid production. Even in a loss, he's giving you 16. Now the problem is you don't want 16 for 10-5. So you need to pick your spots, right? So it's all matchup driven when we're talking about $9,000 to $10,000 for those arms. So I like Peralta today. I like the matchup against Washington. Obviously, it's going to be hindered by the weather, right? I mean, it's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be hindered by the weather. So let's dive into this real fast, just in case. Let's go with another option. Just in case the weather is really bad, looks tricky for that first game at 2:05, because we don't want to get into a delay where, you were talking about, okay, he started, he only pitched 2 innings, gets you 3 points, and now the bullpen guys come in because they had to sit for an hour, right? So that's one of the things we want to stay far away from. So I guess, and not to bank off my man Brian Tulock on Tulock with picks and pivots, I guess we need to pivot a little bit. And we need to look at what other guy can we rely on. And I don't think there's another guy. Like I like Trevor Rogers a ton. Trevor Rogers, to me, for 8,800, I think is a tremendous value. What Trevor Rogers has been able to do, the Marlins just completely breed pitchers. I swear. I talked about it last week. I'll talk about it again. Over the years, the pitchers that have come out of that farm system, even if you bank like in the maybe mid 90s, right? You think about all the guys that came out of that farm system that were eventually traded away, you can make an all-star squad, right? But for fantasy purposes, for DFS purposes, they're great. The only thing you have to look at is you got to make sure the bats are there. But with a guy like Trevor Rogers, the thing we like about him is he strikes out a lot of batters, right? So, so you have the innings pitched. He goes deep into games. He's quality starts 90% of the time, 6, 7. He'll give you a 5 here or there, but again, they're not over consuming him with pitch count, which I like. They're kind of conserving him, and I like this $8,800 number. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Boston's a really good offensive team," and you're absolutely right. But you have to look at what has happened over the last few starts where Boston has faced a pretty good pitcher, and they've been able to be handled. Ryu handled them pretty easily. A couple weeks ago, I know he's a lefty, but at the same time, that's what we're looking at. So's Trevor Rogers, right? So look at that left-handed guy. Look at the splits, look at the stats. How do they face up against left-handed pitching, right? So that's one of the biggest things. So I like Trevor Rogers today as a pivot for 8,800. And just think about that. So if you don't go Peralta at 10-1 and you go Trevor Rogers at 8,800, there's another $1,300 you get to play with, right? So we've already given you an extra, $3,600 by knocking off those $10,000 guys. If you don't want to go with a Yu Darvish, who, listen, Yu Darvish is Yu Darvish, right? But, if you don't want to go with Peralta and Darvish right there, that's $20,700. Now, if you go Montez at 8,000 and you go Rogers at 8,800, that's 16,800, right? That's 60. That's all. Listen, that's $4,200 savings. I really like that objective right there because I think that allows you to get some really good bats into the lineup. So speaking of bats, let's look at our core for today. Now, again, there's a lot of juicy plays and when it comes from the bats, okay? But I'm staying away from the weather. I'm just doing it, right? I like Milwaukee. I like their stack potential going up against Leicester because I think Leicester is, he'll give you 1 out of every 4 games. He'll turn back the clock. But besides that, he's very, very hittable. I like going up against Harvey. I like going up against Matt Harvey. I mean, that's a Chicago White Sox huge stack, right? Huge stack potential. So that's an early game. So you have that, but again, that's a game 1 of a doubleheader scheduled for 7 innings. So, you have to be careful on who you're going to start, what games you're going to start, what players, to avoid and what players that are going to play all those innings. So the other potential I think you have, which is a good weather, they'll get the game in, no issues, is the Minnesota Twins and the Kansas City Royals. And the reason why is J-Happ. So I like the Royals players in this one. I listen, I think if you just go by this game right here, J-Happ to me is like the pitch up, the matchup of elder statesmen, right? J-Happ against Irvin Santana. Both guys 35 plus, both guys in the last legs of their career, right? So, do we want to roll back the clock a little bit? Are we going to go back 5 years ago? No, we're not going to go back 5 years ago. They're not going to come in here and set the world on fire, right? So we need to grab some bats up against both these guys. So I think this is really good potential right here for these teams. And if you look at it, I know right off the bat, now that I know we're going to talk core. Okay, well, let me talk core first. Okay, let me do that because I want to keep us in the same realm here. Okay, so my core today, I 100% the leader for me is Fernando Tatis Jr. All right, it has to be, right? It absolutely has to be. He has been, listen, on another level over the last few games. And again, he started off slow. We talked about him. Okay. But what he's been able to do, raise that average up over 300. And that's a big deal for a power hitting guy, right? So we've looked at over the years, we looked at a ton of players that were power hitters, okay, that couldn't put the bat on the ball when we talk about fundamental baseball. right? We know that. What I mean by bat on the ball is being able to hit the different directions, being able to pull the ball if needed, be able to lay a grounder out to sacrifice a guy from first to second, to be able to hit to multiple fields, to be able to go with pitches. Not everybody can do that. I tell this funny story about, I'm a big Major League guy. I love Major League, one of my favorite movies of all time, right? So you look at Serrano. Right, the guy, he's in practice. They throw him fastballs. He's hitting them way out of the park, over the highway. They didn't throw him a curveball, and he can't hit it to save his life. So Fernando Tatis has proven that theory wrong, and that's why his salary continues to go up. He is the most important part of that San Diego Padres team. 100%. And 3 out of the last 5 games, he's been in double-digit points. I 100%. Again, will pay up for Fernando Tatis. He's going to give you at least a strikeout per game, but very rare does he have multi-strikeout games. He walks a lot, sees a lot of pitches. He has a ton of protection in that lineup with guys like Manny Machado, with Jay Cronenworth, with Will Myers. There's a ton of protection for him, which I think that is key, which means he's always going to see good pitches. And if not, he's always going to give you the opportunity to get positive points because he's able to get on base with a walk, and he's able to run. He has speed, 2 stolen bases in the past 5. He's walking a ton. He has 4 walks in the last 5, but when he gets on, he's scoring runs. I mean, 4 walks, 4 runs scored. That's the part of being in a good lineup, because number one, you can take a walk, get you a point. You steal a base, get you a point. And then you score a run, get you a point. You're already 3 runs at 1 at bat, or 3 points at 1 at bat. That's the way you have to look at these guys when you're playing DFS. What else do they do, right? Ronald Acuna Jr. is the same kind of talent. Juan Soto, the same kind of talent. That's why those 3 guys are the top 3 guys when it comes to under 25 value in fantasy realm, right? So there's a reason for that. So Fernando Tatis Jr. is 100% the leader of my core today, just for the simple fact that I know that no matter who's on the mound, he is going to see pitches, he's going to get on base, and he's going to wreak havoc, right? So, and again, he's going up against Jacob Odorizzi, and coming off the IL, Odorizzi, Odorizzi, I always call him Odorizzi, but Odorizzi, he's not yet the guy that started out in Minnesota, so he's still trying to find his way. So again, there's a reason why his price is at 7,100. I think today they pounce on Odorizzi. I really do. I like it. I like the matchup, and I like the protection in the lineup. So he's going to be the leader of my core right there, right off the bat. Adam checking in says, I hate it. Adam, I hate the 7 inning. I do it. It screws me all up. It does. It screws me all up. Tatis is an absolute monster. He really is, man. So he is the leader of my core. Fernando Tatis Jr., 6,100. I don't think you can go wrong. I don't. I think he is undoubtedly the guy you want to own for today in this slate. Now, I'm going to go with an Oakland A, right? I've had a lot of success with the Oakland team, and again, we're gonna talk a couple of stack potentials, on the Oakland team. But Matt Olson, for me, for my money, he is 100% part of my core. He was part of my core last week. Okay, he really was. When you look at this team on Oakland, Alex Cobb. Okay, Alex Cobb has been really good his last 2 starts. But the reason why Matt Olson, not only is he in my core, he's under 5,000. Okay, for 4,600, I think is an absolute steal. Big value today for Matt Olson. But the thing I want you guys to look at is the splits for Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb is an older pitcher. Alex Cobb, if you look at the last 2 games, he's finally started to resemble the guy we see maybe in Tampa Bay about 3-4 years ago. But that's not going to continue. I can tell you that right now. He's not going to go deep in games. He'll barely get the 5 innings, right? And you have to base your pitch production on these strikeouts, and only 4 strikeouts. That's not good enough. Give up 4 hits. So that's his par as a pitcher. I would never pay $8,400 for Alex Cobb. Just my opinion. But we're looking at the offensive side of this to what we're going up against. And the biggest thing I want you to talk about with Alex Cobb, and the reason why I like Oakland, is the splits from home and away, right? We have to look at the splits from home and away. And look at these home and away splits. Home games, 2.25 ERA. Away games, 8.71. Okay? I mean, look at the earned runs. 4 earned runs at home, 10 on the road. All right. So I think that's what I'm looking at right now. In the Oakland Coliseum, I think Alex Cobb, I don't think he put together another third start, 3 in a row. I can't see it. So I'm going to pounce on Alex Cobb, and I'm going to go Oakland. Matt Olson, a part of my core. I technically could put Marcana into that core as well. Canhigh, again, is another guy who's on that Oakland team. You could even put Mac Chapman, into that core as well if you wanted to. If you wanted to go, look, I mean, Matt Chapman, again, he's only batting 214, but this is the home run potential guy, right? He's under 5,000, 4,700. I mean, you essentially could take 3 guys in this game, in Chapman and Canhigh and Olson, and put them together. But again, I have Canhigh, or Canhigh, whatever you want to call him, right? I have Canhigh and Olson both in my, kind of like my Oakland stack potential. But Matt Olson for me is definitely in my core. 7th inning, Dennis checking in. They're killing the game, man. Exactly. You know what's funny? I'm glad, Dennis. I'm so glad you mentioned that about softball, because I used to coach softball, and we used to start, in youth league rules. If we were tied, we would start with a runner on second base. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's U10. That's 10-year-old girls, right? So now we're taking a 10-year-old rule in softball and bringing that to Major League Baseball. How ridiculous is that? I can't stand it. Listen, here's the thing. And I'm going to get on a real little rant here. This is what happens when people bring things up. I love it. That's why I love the commentary. If you're not a baseball purist and you don't like the game, just don't watch it. Okay, baseball is an analytical game that it's a science. There's a reason why there's 5 throws over to first base. There's a reason why we bunt a runner over. There's a reason why we have a shift. Stop ruining the game to speed it up. If you don't like it, just don't watch it. It's as simple as that. I love the purists that still go and they keep the scorecards, right? I love it. That they do the box score with the little pencil. That's what baseball is all about. You got to stop trying to change the game, right? You can't change the game. We talk about that all the time. Either you're not gonna bring people in, okay, because you put a runner on second, or you have 7-inning doubleheaders. If people don't like baseball, they just don't like it. They're not going to watch it. So, Dennis, I completely agree. It's ruining the game, and I can't stand it. I can't. All right, so let's go back to these teams a little bit. So we're going to go core. We're going to go Matt Olson, what we talked about. We're going to go Fernando Tatis Jr., who is the leader of our core, okay? Absolute leader of our core. And, I had a tough time with the third guy here, and I was back and forth, like, who do I go with? Who do I like? And I know he burned me before. He did. But I'm going to go once again. And again, it's almost like, but you gravitate towards certain guys and certain pitching matchups, right? So Louise Castilla, okay, for Cincinnati, is a fire thrower, right? But he also tends to make mistakes. So if you bring him up, and, it's like you live or die with Louise Castilla, right? We all talk about that. There's a reason why he's 1-7, right? So he gives you that 11 strikeout game, couple 5s. But look, 3 home runs over the last 3 games. He gives up a ton of hits, 8 hits, 10 hits. He's all over the place, right? So for me, there's a reason why his ERA is 7.61. I'm going to go Chris Bryant. I'm going to go Chris Bryant today as absolutely part of my core. Now, he's not in here because I have a couple guys listed that I wanted to remember, okay? So, but he is 100% into my core. Chris Bryant, multiple position eligibility, right? First base or outfield, depending on how you want to set it. Last 2 out of 3 double-digit games, only 1 home run in the last 5, which means he gets a pitch to hit today. It's either playing at home, playing at Wrigley. The weather's not going to be an issue. So 100% Chris Bryant today. Get him in the lineup. He's under 6,000. I think he's a really good core. And we can afford, again, let's remember this. We can afford to put these double-digit guys into our core. Why? Because specifically, we're taking two arms under market value and be able to take that $4,200 to $4,500 and insert that into our core and add some guys that are really, really good value under $3,000. So that's what we do every week. Not build the lineup, right? We don't build the lineup, but we have a lot of fun with it. Dennis, they're taking away the pastime. It's America's pastime for a reason, bro. I completely agree, and I hate that they're changing it so much. So there's your core today. Chris Bryant, Matt Olson, and Fernando Tatis Jr. And the funny thing is, I really think that could have been our core or close to it last week, right? Which is crazy, but hey, listen, it's the way it rolls. It's all about pitching matchups. So Tatis, Bryant, and Olson. So we're gonna go again. Montez, Peralta. That Peralta pick for arms. You never know. It could be iffy. Right? You got to watch the weather situation. Make sure you're not going to get screwed on it. If you want to pivot, okay, remember, if you want to pivot, you always can go Trevor Rogers up against Boston. I get it. I know Boston's got a tremendous lineup, but it is a left-handed pitcher. Ryu had really good success against Boston, a few weeks ago. I think this could be the same outcome for Trevor Rogers. Get you about 7 strikeouts, go about 6 innings, and, give you that 18 to 22 point potential for 8,800, I think, is something that you really need to look at. I think it's something that could work. So let's talk about, we talked about a little stack potential with Oakland. I liked it. I liked the potential for Oakland with the stack. I obviously like Milwaukee up against John Lester, but again, that all depends on weather. All right. I like the White Sox against Matt Harvey. And so any way you want to formulate that lineup, Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, Madrigal, Andrew Vaughn. It all depends on how you want to get the most value for the for these lineups, but another one, again, like I said, is J-Hap. It's a Royal stack, and you're going to see I have a couple Royals guys in here who I think have tremendous potential today. Okay, we're gonna go Andy Benintendi, okay, for 3,800 and Michael Taylor for 2,800. Now, again, this is specifically based on the number that they're at, what they've done over the past couple games, and the arm that they're facing in against Minnesota in J-Hap. All right, we talked about Irvin Santana and J-Hap. So we have 3 guys, max value guys. We have we have Mitch Garver as your catcher. Now, I've always talked about not paying up for catchers. I'm a big under $3,000 catcher guy, but I think this matchup speaks to me. It really does. He's coming off a walk-off home run. I love it. I walk in a home run. I love what he's been able to do. He's double digits 4 out of the last 5. And even his 5th game was 7. And his value really hasn't changed. 45, 46, 48, 47, 43. And again, this all has to do with who he's facing. And Irvin Santana is not going to roll back the clock. He's going to be wild. He's going to leave some pitches up. And I think Mitch Garver has every opportunity to go 2 for 2 in the last 2 games, to hit another home run and at least be productive. He scored a run in 4 out of the last 5 games. He's hit in every single game. He's hit safely in the last 5, only struck out 4 times, and he's walked. Look at these walks. He walked 3 times in the Cleveland game, right? 3 times. And there are some bats in that lineup with Polanco and Sano. There's bats in that lineup for his protection. So I like Mitch Garver today as my standout catcher, and I like him in lineups. Okay. I think that you can really fit Garver in there based on these numbers. I do. And again, based on the Irvin Santana matchup. So Mitch Garver for me, catcher, get him in there. I think he's got really good potential. And again, I talked about Andrew Benintendi. Okay, look what he's done over the last few games. He's constant production. Okay, he's giving you 24 points the last 3 games. That's an average of 8 in the last 3. His number's only 3,800, and J-Hap absolutely stinks right now. So for me, for my money, this could be a game where Kansas City scores 6 or 7 runs against J-Hap, and the bullpen of Minnesota, and I think Benintendi will be a really big reason on why. And then we go with another good value on Michael Taylor, under $3,000. He was on my radar last week. He's going to be on my radar again. Okay, he's coming off a solid 14-point performance. But again, I'm not worried about these zeros. You're paying $2,800. So what I'm doing is low risk, high reward, going up against a guy again in J-Hap, who I think could be hit be hit very well. And I think Michael Taylor could be in a good spot. Number one, he's a speedy guy, right? So just to give you an idea, what I look at is if I just talked about the Royals scoring 6 or 7 runs, I'm looking at it like, okay, so if Benintendi gets on base and knocks in some runs and Michael Taylor get on base, he's going to score some runs. He's going to maybe steal a base. Maybe, he's not going to walk a lot. He strikes out a ton. But again, all he needs to do is get one hit to cause havoc on the base pass. And if he can absolutely get 2 hits, which would be electric, okay, which he did the last game. And listen, he's hit 3 of the last 5 games. He's giving you at least 1 hit. He can make things happen. And if you can turn $2,800 into 5 to 7 points when you have a lineup full of big bats of a core like Bryant at 5,800 and like Tatis 6,100, you are absolutely going to cash in. So I like it. I like it. I usually stack and hit. Exactly. I like it, man. I like the stack. It all depends on what stack you want to do, and I know it's not the popular one, but I really like an Oakland stack today. But I also like, again, 3 guys I want to target. I'll say it again, is J-Hat, Matt Harvey, and John Lester. They're the 3 pitchers that I want to target. So I think all I'm saying is I think even if you don't stack your lineup and you can plug and play a guy from each one of those arms, I think you're going to do very well. I do. So let's look at a couple value guys. Listen. I told you about this guy before. I'm going to talk about him again. Jonathan Schube. Okay. I'm talking about him, and I'm going to tell you why. So this is what I'm looking at. So let's go to this New York team, and we're going to look at Garcia, who they just called up. He's 22 years old. They called him up to make his first start. He stays on board, going to make a second start against the Detroit Tigers, who, yeah, they're not the best team in the world. Okay, he threw 64 pitches, only went 4 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, gave up a home run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. He could have had nerves, right? Who knows? Second start again against Detroit. I'm still not going to put all my cards into the rookie pitcher, so I'm going to pounce a little bit. And I'm not going to pounce big time, right? I'm not going to pounce big time and go crazy with these lineups, okay? But one of the guys, I'm going to bring him up again. I talked about it before, is Robbie Grossman. I don't think he gets enough love at DFS as a streamer, right? If you pick your matchups for Robbie Grossman, he's another hitter that checks a lot of boxes, right? Strikes out a ton. But if you pick the right matchups, he can very well carry one of your value spots on your team. So last game, I mean, look what he just did. Okay, went 2 for 4, 2-run homer. He scores 2 runs. He gets 2 hits. He walks. He has a stolen base. He's checking every single box against the Yankees. Now, do you expect 28 points? No. There's a reason why he only went from 3,700 to 3,900. Now, if DraftKings thought he would be consistent enough to move up the charts, this number would have went up about $800 to $900, but they didn't. They only went up 2, which means, yes, take your lumps with Robbie Grossman under 4,000, but we talk about under $4,000 values. Under $4,000 players who may go long. I think Robbie Grossman has a potential for both today. He could be a go long guy under 4,000, and I think he could check a bunch of boxes for you in a lineup under 4,000 against a rookie pitcher who's still trying to find his way. So the other guy I like, and I told you about him already, is Jonathan Schube. I like Jonathan Schube. He's only 3,200, and look at his points. How many zeros do you see? None. No zeros for Jonathan Schube. Okay, so if you're talking value at 3,200, a cat that's going to get you multiple hits normally a game, going to score runs, he's going to walk, doesn't strike out a ton, I think it's a win-win, because when you're building these cores and you're putting these arms in the lineup, whether you want to go 2 pitchers at the top at 20,000 or you want to build a core that's probably going to be about 15,000, you need players like this. You absolutely need players like this. And Jonathan Schube, if he gives you positive point production under 35, under 34, under 3,300. You take that all day. Now, I don't want 2 points, but I'm absolutely expecting a 6 to 9 point day for Jonathan Schube. So if I can get 6 to 9 points for 3,200, I am all in. I've talked about that all the time. I'm not going to, I'm going to continue to ram it home because that is the way I'm formulating my picks. Now, for the first game slate is we got to look at Mr. Suarez. And we talked about Mr. Suarez a couple weeks ago as this guy can absolutely kill you. He struck out 12 times in the last 10 games, right? He is, listen, let me bring it back up. He is every bit of the 2021 version of Adam Dunn, right? You're either going to love him or you're going to hate him. He's going to probably bat 198, strike out 200 freaking times, but he's going to hit 35 home runs, right? So you have to pick your spots. And I think this is a day that I'm going to jump on the Suarez wagon. I am, because he's starting to ramp it up a little bit. If you see 2 out of the last 5, he's hit home runs. You see what he's starting to do. Right before that, he went on a stretch where he was 0-0-4, not very good. But today, I'm gonna pounce. I am. I like the matchup. Against the Chicago Cubs. Let me pull it up and tell you how the Cincinnati team stacks up, because I think you could quietly go with, again, don't have to worry about weather too, right? We don't have to worry about weather at all. So Zach Davies to me is a guy that you can actually. You can hit. There's a reason why he's 6,400. You look at what he's been able to do. He's not going to go deep in games. That's one thing. He's not going to strike out a ton of people, which is huge, right? So if you're talking about a team with a guy like Suarez, batting 159, who strikes out at least 2 times per game on average, you want him to go up against a guy who doesn't strike out. That means he leaves balls high, he leaves balls in the zone, and he struggles with command. So this is the perfect matchup for guys like Suarez. Now, Winker, at the top, then for Castellanos, he's been cold for the last 3 games. I think this could be a game where Castellanos gets back on point. But if you're talking about value and you don't want to pay that $5,000 number for guys like Winker and Castellanos, you got to look at a guy like Suarez. I think he's really good value, 4,500 today in Wrigley. Balls like to fly out of there in left field. All he needs to do is get a hold of one, man. And again, he's going to give you all the money that you need, or the production you need for that 4,500. So for me, big value today, Mr. Suarez. And again, I'll type these things into the comments. I like to go an hour, so I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to stay on one specific point. I'm already at the 42-minute mark, right? So as you guys see, so let me flip over. We got a 5-game slate. All right, we're going to stop sharing that. Let's go to the 5-game slate so we can look at that before we talk a little bit about football. And again, I'll throw these in the comments later so you guys have them. Again, YouTube. Go to the YouTube. I shared the wrong one again. Go to the YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification button. If you go to the YouTube page, we will be active in the comments. Go to the Discord page. We are absolutely active in Discord, which is great. So, you want to get at us there, ask the questions, hop in the DMs. They're open, not a big deal. I have people to DM me all the time. I don't mind talking it up. Here and there, I might not get back to you right away, but usually within about 15 to 20 minutes, I will be available. And there's a ton of awesome talent at Win Daily Sports. Go check us out at Win Daily Sports on all social formats. But most importantly, go check out that YouTube page, hit the subscription button, and get us up to 1,000. We're at about 790 right now. Got a ton of different content on there, talking all different sorts, even NASCAR. We're even talking NASCAR, right? So we got to talk about everything here, which is great. So let's go with the late slate 5. We're going to do this real fast. I think right here the arms that I like in this game, and again, there's not a ton. Look. This is what you have to look at, right? Do you want to pay off for Urias? I don't know. Against the Dodgers, I know he's been really good. He strikes out a ton of bats, but I don't like going against really, really good teams. And the Dodgers, to me right now, at home, I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling, not for $10,000. I think there's another option in Ian Anderson against the Mets, who basically have an entire lineup that's hurt. Have a guy in Francisco Lindor that's absolutely struggling. I know our boy Jason, founder of Win Daily Sports, is the big Mets guy, and he's probably dying when I'm talking about this, but it's the absolute truth. I don't even know who's going to show up to play. I don't know if they're going to the SEPTA line, or going to the Bronx subway, if they're picking up cats that are, maybe panhandling or washing windows and throwing them onto the field. I'm not sure, but I'm going all in against the New York Mets with Ian Anderson today. I think for under 10,000, he can be your absolute stud, in the late game slate, or if you're going to find a contest that adds all into play, you can find them if you want to pay up. But Ian Anderson, for me, for 9,400 in the late game slate, he's 100% your number one ace. And then, even though this guy's on the DTM list, because Jigsaw has a DTM list, it is the dead to me list, I call it. Okay, Mr. Adam Wainwright. And the reason why I say that is because here's what's funny. If we pull up Adam Wainwright's numbers, right? The one time he has a bad game, guess who started him as part of their two aces? That's right, this guy, Mr. Jigsaw. He screwed me, but I'm going to give him a second chance because I think today he has a really good matchup in his pocket against Arizona, and he's under 9,000. So I really feel for 8,200, he's a really good value when you look at this slate. Okay, that's a big thing. You have to look at what's available. You do. You have to look. You have to look at who's available and for what price. And for me, for 8,200, Adam Wainwright, right there, you got 9,400 for Ian Anderson, 8,200 for Wainwright. You're talking about 17.6 under 20,000, gives you that extra $3,400 to put in some bats. So let's look at. You're going to see a common theme, okay, of guys that I really like in this late game slate. So I want to pounce on certain guys. And this is my PE number one is Mr. Seth Frankoff. Sorry, Seth, not feeling you today. This 7.27 ERA is definitely something I want to pounce, okay? You have shown me that you can barely pitch through 4.5 innings. You've shown me that you're giving up multiple hits per inning. You're showing me that you can't strike anybody out. So what that says to me is St. Louis is a team to look at. And right away, I'm going all in on Mr. Paul Goldschmidt. He's only 4,000. While everybody wants to pay off for Nolan Arenado today, I'm going to buy into Mr. Paul Goldschmidt. He is going through withdrawal when it comes to hitting home runs. He's back home. He's back. He shows those Arizona Diamondbacks, there's a reason why you shouldn't have traded me to St. Louis. I'm going to prove you wrong. His numbers dropping. I'm going to pounce on pace. He's facing a really bad pitcher. So today, I'm going to even go on a limb here and say this could be a multiple home run day for Mr. Paul Goldschmidt because I'm feeling him so much right now. He's giving me 2 double-digit games for $4,000 or less. I think he absolutely gives you a double-digit game today, and I think he could be the reason why St. Louis and Adam Wainwright come away with a win. So I like Paul Goldschmidt, and I also like my man, Mr. Yadier Molina. And again, here's another catcher. I don't normally do this. We went with Mitch Garver for 4,300 in the early game slate. Now we're going 4,200 in the for St. Louis in the late slate. So I'm going 2 catches over 4,000. What is going on? It must be a shitty weekend here for Memorial Day if I'm going catches over 4,000 in both slates. But Yadier Molina has absolutely been. Listen, you're talking about again a catcher that's barely batting under 300. He has been, talk about standing the test of time. Even in his 30s, he just stays on point. And again, this has absolutely all to do with my man Seth in Arizona. We're going to pounce on him, and we're going to go secret stack right there with Goldsmith, Molina, 2 guys. 8,200. It falls in line. It'll allow you to get a bigger name guy into your lineup as opposed to going with that $4,000 value and you're not sure it's going to be consistent enough. So that's what you have to do. Zach Wheeler. Listen, Adam, we're a local guy, right? And I do. I like Zach. Zach Wheeler, number one, has been the ace for the Philadelphia Phillies staff, right? We can easily say that. He has absolutely been the ace for the Philly staff. So Zach Wheeler, to me, I think his lowest game was probably 28, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 28 over the past 4. So he's been at least 7 innings, 8 innings, gives you the opportunity to get you that complete game. He's a quality start every now and he's basically been unhittable. So, yeah, I like Zach Wheeler. I try to stay away from the local teams because, honestly, I like to watch. It's something that I've always stayed true to. I like to watch the game as the game and not from a fantasy perspective. So if I stay away from a local game, at least I know I can watch one game realistically and all the other games I can analyze, right? So it's kind of like my secret formula. But yeah, I definitely, I don't think there's no doubt about that Zach Wheeler doesn't have another good game today. So let's go with another secret stack here. And I love these, I call them sneaky stacks. How's that? Sneaky stacks, because I'm not paying up for guys. And I like it. So right away, I'm looking at the Seattle game. And again, there's a reason why we're looking at it. So Fontanevich, again, he basically proved me wrong last time. That's okay. It's all right. But it's all about the righty-lefty matchup. And again, I like 2 guys in Seattle. Ty France was a guy that I was riding in the very beginning. He kind of went, he went cold a little bit, right? He did, but he's starting to pick it up back in consistency. And this is what I'm looking at. $3,100 number. He's getting 5.8, 5.85. Listen, if you're getting 5 points for $3,000 and with the potential of getting 8 to 10, you're already ahead of the game. So I'm 100% in on Ty France today. And I listen, Kyle Seager, to me, his battle ball percentage is extremely high. Barrel to bat. Okay. Or barrel to ball. Barrel to bat, same damn thing. Barrel to ball, right? His barrel to ball percentage is very, very high. And I'm expecting Fontanevich to go back to what I said last week when I said he was going to mess up on command. He was going to be all over the place, giving Kyle Seager the opportunity today to pounce on him. I think this Seattle-Texas matchup, it's funny because you're talking about 2 teams that are very low average hitters as a team respectively, but facing 2 pitchers that not necessarily are very good in Justin Dunn and Dunn and Fontanevich. So I'm looking at both of these guys as guys to sneakily stack up against, okay? Because the other end of the spectrum, when we go against Texas, when we go against Mr. Justin Dunn, and again, Justin Dunn's actually, he could be a sleeper for strikeouts today from a pitching perspective, okay? He does have that kind of potential, okay? He's shown with 9 and 6 that potential is there, but he's not consistent enough for me. And when you're a flame-throwing pitcher that struggles with command, what does that mean? You're going to leave balls out over the plate, more than not. So what does this buy into? This buys into a Joey Gallo day for me, right? This buys into a Joey Gallo day. I called Joey Gallo a few weeks ago. He came through for me. I'm going to call him again. I love the Joey Gallo day. Joey Gallo day. I absolutely love it because Joey Gallo to me is one of those cats that all he needs is the right ball or the right pitch. That's it. And it's gone, right? It's absolutely gone. Justin Dunn, it will definitely leave a couple pitches up in the zone for Gallo. He's a strict fastball, high fastball hitter. He loves it. And again, I'm all in on a guy of 4,200 who's giving you positive production over the past 10 games of at least 4 to 7 points that can give you that double-digit game every now and then. And I think this is that double-digit game today. I think he goes long. Another guy, potential for a going long guy. I know he's 4,200, not necessarily under 4,300, or not necessarily under 4, but good enough. And I'm going to go with Adolis Garcia, who has been, you know who Adolis Garcia is? Because we're going to segue this to football. He's been the James Anderson running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has been the guy who has been a fantasy darling, right? He has. He's been a fantasy darling because if you look at what he was supposed to do in the beginning, nobody had him on the radar as being a consistent point producer. And he is week in and week out, or I should say game in and game out, giving you positive points. Now he's starting to strike out a lot, which, his average was up at 300. It's dipping down a little bit. And again, that's all about analytics. They get film on guys, right? We all know about that. So it's all about the game of adjustments. But, for today against Justin Dunn, he's not a guy who's going to give you 6 or 7 pitches and kind of stymie you at bat. So I think Garcia is poised, him and Gallo, to get that positive production today and actually bank on. I mean, they could go back to back. They could go yard today. They could both hit home runs. Either way, I think they'll score enough to both give you that positive production, above 4,000. So I do like that sneaky stack when it comes to Texas. And then the other stack that we're going to talk about is in Atlanta with Ronald Acuna Jr. and Dansby Swanson. So Dansby Swanson is one of the another value guy. Under 5,000, under 4,500. Always, he's at 2 double-digit games over the past 5. He's consistently giving you points. You hear me say checking all the boxes, but he just does. He when you play in a lineup that has guys like Ozzie Albies, Marcell Ozuna, who's just went on the IL, unfortunately, but Ronald Acuna Jr., Dansby Swanson's going to get a lot of pitches. Right? It's just the way this works. You have to look at that. If you're not the main guy, who's going to be the beneficiary of those studs? And it's going to guy like Dansby Swanson. So if you could stack up a Dansby Swanson for 4,400 and Ronald Acuna Jr., who I don't even need to talk about, he's been unbelievable. If not the best fantasy player, one of the top 3s with Tatis and Juan Soto on the outside looking in. I think right there at 6,200 and 4,400, you're coming away for 10,600. There's the reason why I won't pay for the one arm at 10,600, right? So unless you're getting 30 points from that 10-6, is not worth it. So if you pay 10-6 and only get 16, and you can get a guy like Acuna and Swanson, each average, say, about 12 for your stack and give you 24, you're ahead of the game for that money. So that's what I'm looking at. So today in the late game slate, not really a core. I would just say the leader that I'm looking at is Ronald Acuna Jr. I will say I'm going to put Goldsmith in my core. He's under only 4,000, but I really like his potential today. And as a secret stack, Garcia and Gallo for Texas. I like Seager and France for Seattle. And again, the arms, I think you can't go wrong with Ian Anderson and Adam Wainwright. Both guys under that 10,000 marker, I think could give you exceptional value. So let's swing this the last few minutes. We only got about 5 minutes left, which is not a big deal. Okay. I want to talk because we're adding NFL in. Right, we have to add NFL in because it gets the juices pumping. Right, it does. It gets the juices pumping, and you're talking about last week. We talked about Cam Akers and DeAndre Swift from an ADP perspective. Well, ESPN throws out their mock draft a few days ago, and it has all the big players, right? Tristan Colcroft, Mike Clay, Eric Calabaro, Matthew Berry, Stephanie Bell, right? Field Yates, has them all, Matt Bowen, they're all in there, right? So I was curious. Let's just break this down. So what we're going to do is, week to week, I'm going to look at this mock draft. And right now, we're just going to look at round 1. And we're just going to look at it and see these 10 picks. Now, this is a PPR 10-team mock, okay? This happened 7 days ago. So, again, not a lot of movement in the last 7 days. You think Adam wants to know about Julio Jones. I will say real quick, Adam, I don't know where Julio goes. I don't think it'll be the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's still going to be a team like the New England Patriots, and don't leave the Cleveland Browns out of that discussion. Just throwing that out there. So let's look at this football mock. So round 1, pick 1, Tristan Colcroft goes 100% all in on Christian McCaffrey. So I think your top 3 or top 4, I think, could be moved around a little bit, just a little bit. So your top 4 goes Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara. Now, I love Saquon Barkley, but I can't put him as number 3. I got to make sure he's healthy. I got to see exactly how that offense is going to be constructed out there in New York. I wasn't sold on Daniel Jones last year. They're going to stack the box up against a guy like Saquon Barkley. And again, you have to look at, can that quarterback keep guys off the line and stacking the box up against your pure offensive producer on your team. And I know they brought in Kenny Galladay, which is a huge find. And if ever your Eagle can stay healthy and the rest of that offense can, with their first round draft pick and guys like Sterling Shepard, if they could stay in that offensive realm, I think that could, and the health of Barkley is huge too. I think he could absolutely be a top 5 back this year. I'm just not taking a chance on him in the first round at number 3. Now, if you're talking about, 6, 7, or 8, maybe we could talk, but I don't like Barkley at number 3. I would move Kamara up to that number 3 slot. So let's also talk about, so we go Christian McCaffrey 1, Dalvin Cook 2. I think you don't touch those guys. I think Dalvin Cook could essentially be the number 1 fantasy running back. I talked about it last year. I'll talk about it again. I think he is that valuable to that Minnesota team. They use him all over the place. I know McCaffrey did. The only thing I will say about McCaffrey that scares me is you watch Matt Rule and you watch Joe Judge or Joe Brady be able to take that team last year and say, okay, I'm going to use my boy Tulock's word again. We're going to pivot once McCaffrey gets hurt. And I know they have Mike Davis, okay, but they showed that they could still be an offensive producer without Christian McCaffrey. Does that mean that Christian McCaffrey is not going to get 300 touches again? I'm not sure, but I think that they're going to be concerned because he was out last year. They may dial that back to maybe like 250 or 260, and that could make the difference of bumping Dalvin Cook up to that top spot. Kamara, again, for me, is number 3 in this mock draft. Derrick Henry was number 5. Don't know if I go Derrick Henry. Ezekiel Elliott, number 6. Not sure. Those are 2 iffy picks to me. Okay, so the bottom end of this first round is Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Adams. A lot of question marks right there, fellas. A lot of question marks, because what we have to look at right there, okay, is we have to look at what the Aaron Rodgers situation is going to be in Green Bay, how that affects a guy like Aaron Jones, who I was shocked that they re-signed, and a guy like Devontae Adams, who for me, if Aaron Rodgers is there, is undoubtedly the number 1 fantasy pick overall. Yes, I said it as a receiver. Devontae Adams is that special. But I think without Aaron Rodgers, he takes a hit, right? I think Aaron Jones takes a hit. I can't take Travis Kelce as a number 7 guy. I can't do it. Where is my man Cam Akers up in this line, right? Where's my guy Jonathan Taylor up in this round 1? Where's Austin Eckler up in this round 1? So where's DeAndre Hopkins up in this round 1? Did he really fall off that far? I just, there's not enough receivers to me, okay, in this top 5. There's just not. I think I would, even though Kelce, you could argue, is a receiver, I get it. I would kind of put him at number 10, possibly. I don't know if Tyreek Hill is in my round 1. I think he's in my 11 to 13 range. Aaron Jones, the same thing. I would move up guys like Cam Akers. I would move up DeAndre Hopkins. I would even move up Jonathan Taylor. So I think a lot of points for discussion. I think what I want to do is that next week, let's bring in our own mock. I want to start doing a mock on the show. And what we'll do is maybe we'll formulate a system where, we throw these out there. Like maybe what I can do is I want to do something fun, because everybody's busy, right? I get that everybody's busy, but I want to get everybody involved as much as possible. So maybe what we'll do is, we'll throw votes out there, and it'll be, okay, round 1, first overall pick, decide between these 3 guys, round 2, or round 1, number 2 overall pick, decide between these 3 guys. And then we'll formulate our mock for Win Daily Sports on what everybody seems to think as an audience. So we'll bring it all together. But for my money right now, looking at this as a whole, for me, and I'll throw this out there right there, I want to hear everybody's top 5 fantasy picks right now. Top 5 PPR. I want to know who you have as an early mock. We're going to bring that to next week. So I want to throw that out there. I want everybody's top 5. Okay, you pick whoever you want, but this is based on a 10-team PPR, full point PPR draft. I'm curious to see where everybody has in their top 5, because I think number 1 and 2 are pretty much going to, just go back and forth. But I want to see everybody's top 5 and what they are. So bring that with you next week. Now, so actually, bring that with you next week. I want to run that for a whole week, because tomorrow, tune into the Fantasy Firebox. We will be live again at 9 a.m. Adam, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Tune in tomorrow, 9 o'clock. We will touch on round 2. Okay. Or we will touch on round 2. And then next week we'll break down round 1 for everybody's top 5 PPR picks. But as always, check the comments out. We'll throw out who the core is. I'll put it on social. I'll put it in the YouTube comments. I'll put it in Discord. Get at me through DM. Get all the Win Daily guys at Win Daily Sports, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We're all over the place. But mainly on YouTube. Hit that subscription button. Hit the bell so you know when we go live. We really appreciate everybody's feedback. We enjoy ripping it up within the threads. It's been fun. Went about 5 minutes over, but that's okay. Weather out here blows. What else am I doing right now except researching Major League Baseball players and early previews of NFL ADP. So again, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo, follow me at TCutillo23. This is the Fantasy Firebox, courtesy of Win Daily Sports. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Come back tomorrow, 9 a.m., so we can talk about the Sunday games and talk more NFL, because there's so many early Sunday slate games. I want to talk more about the NFL. We'll do half the show on NFL, the second round mock for ESPN, and see where these cards fall, and see if we want to move anybody off from round 2 into round 1. But as always, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. Win Daily Sports, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. Have a great Saturday, and we will catch you Sunday morning.